What's up, guys? So as we get closer to Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix, I've been thinking about the scenes that I'm most excited about seeing adapted into live action. There are so many freaking moments in Book 1 that are just phenomenal, but I feel like a few stand above the rest. And so that's what we're talking about today, but as always, before we dive in, make sure you smash like and subscribe if you're new here. Honestly, guys, I recently had a conversation with Fire Lord Ozai, and he was saying that I need subscribers to restore my honor. It was this whole big thing, so I'd really appreciate it. But when thinking about scenes, I felt like 10 was a good number to start with. And so I'll start with my number 10, and that is Zuko's banishment and the Agni Kai between him and Fire Lord Ozai. And I know that we've already seen part of the Agni Kai in the trailer, but I'm just very curious to see how everything works out and see how in depth they get into things. Are they going to show Iroh and Azula in the audience? Is it going to be told through Iroh's narration like the original? And then just, what's it going to feel like? The tone in the original series is very serious. This is a very serious and pivotal moment in Zuko's life. Dae Kim and James Liu are phenomenal actors, and the humiliation that Zuko faces in this moment, it's just going to be interesting to see how it's portrayed in live action, to see the fire bending and how fierce it is. We know how strong Fire Lord Ozai is as a bender, and so just to see this actually take place outside of the animation form and into this real life setting in a room surrounded by everybody, like, you can just imagine the pressure and the emotion, and also how much detail are they going to give into the reasons why Zuko is banished, you know what I mean? But next, in number 9, I was thinking about Katara and her character, and something that stands out for me in Book 1 is the fight between her and Master Pakku. I feel like it's one of the biggest moments for her character, and yes, it's only in the first season, but just to see that she's not just another waterbender. She's one of the best and brightest, and she has so much to offer. It's an overcoming adversity moment for her, and so however they decide to play it is up to them, but I'm just hoping that it showcases the hell out of her abilities. And also with Pakku and her, I think it gives the creatives such an amazing chance to do some really cool water bending stuff with the CGI as well as the practical. You know, as for the adaptation, I'm looking for a lot of the character work to be done well, but I'm also looking for these effects to be done well as well. Well, really everything that we've seen so far, from the trailers as well as the behind the scenes, like the water bending has looked fantastic. And so that's why I'm eager to see this moment, because this is one of the biggest water bending moments in the entire season. We're going back and forth and just seeing a lot of it. I think if done well, like it is in the original series, it's just going to be a really high point for the character. And I would be excited for somebody like Kiawentiio, this being her performance. I'd be excited about this moment for her. But anyway, on to number 8, and this is something that I was thinking about quite a bit, the air nomads, or the air refugees in the Northern Air Temple episode. It's not so much a specific scene, I'm more so thinking about just this entire episode and how much it's really gonna exist within the end of this series. It takes place right before the Siege of the North, right before they get to the Northern Water Tribe, but it's a really big episode. There's a lot that happens in it, and so I'm very curious to see, like, the machinery, for instance, and how that's done, as well as all the gliding around the Northern Air Temple, just all of those moments. But then we have, like, the balloons. The changes here, I think, are going to matter the most, because this just feels like the type of episode that's almost a filler in the original series. There is some lesson learned, you know, obviously with Aang going to the Northern Air Temple and seeing what it's become. It's a big moment for him, but if they do it, I'm curious to see how they do it, and if they don't do it, I'm curious to see how they incorporate elements from these episodes, or from this episode, into the overall story. I would just be very excited to see them actually do the entire battle and do all of that and just dedicate the time to it, because I don't know, that's something that as a fan, these little small side episodes, even calling them filler like that, like, the little side quests are what make the show. Like, I love the little bits, and I don't want to see all of those get chopped out. You know what I mean? But then on to number 7, and this is one that I'm very excited about: Zuko and Aang's fights. I say fights because it's really the first little fight that they have in the Southern Water Tribe village when Zuko shows up, as well as the fight that they have on Zuko's ship. These moments, the introduction of these two characters to one another, knowing now the journey that they're gonna go on, this is just such an exciting thing for me to think about. Obviously, we've seen a little bit of it in the trailers, but as for the battle on Zuko's ship, there's so many little moments throughout that, like Aang running into Zuko's room and trying to get his staff, and that whole little interaction that takes place within there and then pushing out onto the deck of the ship, and then Appa coming and rescuing him, and Aang up in the air deflecting that giant fireball. It's so cool to think about seeing all of this in live action, and I feel like this really is going to be one of those first examples within the adaptation that we're going to see how they're going to do things different from the animation, because there are certain things that take place during these fighting sequences that I just feel like you can't do in live action. It's just a little bit too crazy, but there are other things within the animation that you probably could do, and so I'm curious to see how far they're going to push it, and I do feel like this is going to be one of the first examples, like I said, that we're going to get, like Katara freezing people's feet and stuff. Do you think we're going to get stuff like that? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what you think of that, but again, I am very excited just for Aang and Zuko facing off against one another, and Zuko really learning, oh man, like, this is not just some young kid, this is the Avatar, and this is not somebody to second guess by any means. But on to number 6, and although these aren't even in any like specific order, as this list goes on, I find my excitement level growing and growing here. But number 6, I'm putting the Blue Spirit. I talked a little bit about the banishment of Zuko and how important that is to Zuko's character. Well, this is another one of those pivotal moments for him within this season. There's a lot that's happening internally with him here, and I'm not only curious as to how they're going to put this episode together, but just how is the Blue Spirit going to differ from Zuko in fighting style? How are they going to handle that inner emotion with Zuko? There's a moment near the end of the episode where Aang is talking to Zuko. And this is one of my favorite scenes from the entire season, because Aang looks at Zuko and he's talking about somebody from the Fire Nation that he used to know. He says he was one of the best friends I ever had, and he was from the Fire Nation, just like you. If we knew each other back then, do you think we could have been friends too? And then obviously Zuko leaves, but then, you know, Aang goes back in the end, and Katara's like, did you make any friends? And he's like, I don't think so. And we're just starting to see that like inner conflict and just that relationship with Zuko, like the potential that that relationship with Zuko has. And we see Zuko rolling over in his bed. He's clearly confused about all of this. And so once again, this isn't so much like one direct scene. It's really just talking about how they're going to adapt this episode. As for the Blue Spirit himself, what aesthetically is that going to look like? Obviously, we've already seen the mask. I think we all know what that mask is going to look like, but what are the swords really going to look like? What is the exact wardrobe going to look like? And like I said, as far as the fighting style goes, like how are they going to do that cross between animation and live action? Like I said, how are they going to do that? I just hope that it showcases Zuko in a bit of a different light and really just shows like the raw strength and power that he has, because it's not all up to the firebending in those moments. It's really up to the martial arts training that he has. And so, yeah, man, Blue Spirit, that is really exciting. I'm really excited about the Blue Spirit stuff. Also, though, since I'm thinking about that episode, do you guys remember when Momo's bringing back like random stuff when Katara and Sokka need water, and they're just like, no, Momo, like stop bringing back all this random stuff? I'm curious to see how they do that. I really hope that they keep that in the show. But on to number 5, and this one is a special one. This is Aang meeting Avatar Roku for the first time. And there's a lot to be excited about within these Winter Solstice episodes. I think Heibai, already seeing that little clip of him, it's just phenomenal, and it's crazy that they're even going there. But the culmination of both those episodes, Aang getting into this room and spending time with Avatar Roku, what's that gonna look like? Do you think when he goes into the spirit world, is it just gonna wipe away and he's actually gonna go into some like ethereal realm that's covered in clouds or some other place? Or are they gonna take a more realistic approach, if you can even call it that, but have like a force ghost type Avatar Roku just kind of like walking next to Aang or that kind of thing? I don't know. Just to speculate a little bit, I personally hope that they really dive into the spirit world and they show us all of these visions that Aang is having, and they go on this journey with him, because there's so many that end up taking place throughout all of the seasons, and this first meeting with Avatar Roku is really the start of that journey with this kid who's trying to save the world, and he's just trying to learn from this mentor, but also seeing like the raw strength of Avatar Roku and seeing what another avatar looks like. I don't even know who they cast for the role. I haven't seen anything about that, and there's a lot of little details within the live action that I'm excited for about that, like not knowing who's cast in certain parts, and then also maybe these little moments that I almost forget about. Like, it's definitely something that I think a lot of people are going to forget about, you know, when he gets into the room and all of a sudden, oh wow, it's Avatar Roku, like he's meeting with Avatar Avatar Roku. Whoa, that's another Avatar. There's a lot to be learned in that moment. I know I've brought this up a little bit already today, but as far as Aang's character goes, this is a very pivotal moment for him in learning and growing as he heads towards like the culmination of this season. So that's my number 5. As for number 4, I was thinking about Zuko and Admiral Zhao and the Agni Kai that they have. Because I think just aesthetically, this is such a cool moment. I forget whether it's at dusk or at dawn, but this is the type of thing where like Iroh is in Zuko's corner. Talked a little bit about with the Blue Spirit showcasing his martial arts. Well, now we get to see the fire bending showcased with Zuko. Obviously, he is just a teenager, and so this isn't like the height of his power or anything, but through his anger, he does channel a certain power through fire bending. And I do love that they're giving Admiral Zhao even more of a presence within the live action, and I think they're really going to hype this moment up. You know, we're going to see Zuko get banished by his father. We're going to see that Agni Kai take place, and so this is a moment almost of redemption for the darker side of his character. There's a lot of action that takes place here fairly quickly, to be honest. I actually recently watched it again. It's an insane fight, and just thinking about an Agni Kai in live action, maybe somebody that hasn't watched the original series is going to watch this and really be introduced to what an Agni Kai is. This is an intense traditional thing within the Fire Nation. God, I sound so nerdy sometimes. We're like listening to myself talk here, but it is like, it's a very important thing for the Fire Nation. And so, you know, Zuko calling out his superior and being like, you know what, bro, I can take you. I'm very excited to see how they do that. These are key moments for Dallas Liu and his character and his acting, as well as the performances from, what's his name? That's right, Ken Luong. And this is a great role for this guy. I'm very excited to see his performance. Obviously, you have Jason Isaacs in the original doing the voice acting, and he's just like the best. Lucius Malfoy, if you guys know who I'm talking about, like a phenomenal voice actor, and he knows how to make that presence feel scary and dark and ominous. But I'm excited to see what Ken does. You know, I'm excited to see what he does with the role, and this is going to be one of those showcases between these two actors that I'm very excited for. So, but on to my number 3. This is really just like the tail end of the Siege of the North Part 2. All the Moon Spirit stuff. I'm very curious to see Amber Midthunder, seeing her play Princess Yue. I think that's a phenomenal casting. But then Aang going into the Avatar state and just seeing him absolutely wreck shop. I'm curious if they're going to do the big water monster thing, or are they going to have him just like fly up in the air and do some crazy water bending. Also, I'm curious about right before that, like I kind of talked about with the Moon Spirit, like taking the waterbender's bending away, how it all kind of goes like gray and red. I wonder aesthetically how they're going to do that. If they're going to do that, are they actually going to make Princess Yue like the moon? I think those are changes that you can't change, especially for hardcore fans like that. That's something that you do not want to see changed, but there's so much good stuff within the tail end of that episode. We've already seen a little bit between Katara and Zuko battling, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's really just Aang going crazy and demonstrating why he is the Avatar and what the Avatar is and how much power the Avatar has. It's one of my favorite things about all 3 of these seasons. We get to slowly see Aang master waterbending, master earthbending, master firebending. Like, that's such a fun ride to go on, and seeing the finale of this season result in Aang becoming this giant, like, water monster. It's phenomenal. I'm curious to see how they're going to pull it off. I'm very excited to see how they're going to pull that off. And if they do, I'm going to be crying. But on to number 2, and this is something that we've seen quite a bit of actually already within the trailers. This is The Boy in the Iceberg, just the discovery of Aang. It has been so much fun to watch the trailer over and over and over and see that beam of light shooting into the sky and then seeing Zuko off into the distance, all of that little stuff. But I'm more curious about the other side of this scene. Like, what happens once they actually break in there and they get Aang? Is he going to be as playful as he is within the animation? Like, as soon as he gets out, I think the first thing he says is like, do you want to go penguin sledding with me? Are they going to take it there? Is he going to be that lively initially, or is it going to have kind of a darker tone where he wakes up like super confused? What's going on? And also, what's Appa going to look like? Appa's going to be sitting in there. Are they going to make it so Appa can't fly still? I'm very excited for this first episode to start and see all of the little changes that are made. I'm sure we're going to have some big long narration, some something kind of catching everybody up to speed on what's been happening in this world. But then we're going to get to Katara and Sokka, this brother and sister, and they discover this boy in the iceberg. And I'm really, really, really freaking excited to see them discover him in live action and to see him break out. And then I'm just curious to see where it goes from there. So yeah, guys, but like I said earlier, you know, this isn't like a rank by any means. These weren't so much in a specific order, but I did put a few of these towards the top that I'm most eager to see because there are just some amazing things within this season. But yeah, I mean, since it's at number one, it really is the thing that I'm most excited to see. I'm a pretty big horror fan. I don't know if you guys know that if you've watched my channel a little bit, but the thing that I'm most excited about seeing is Ko, the face stealer. This scene is absolutely terrifying and always has been terrifying, and it showcases why this isn't just any other kids show. There were moments like this when I first watched the original series where I was like, man, that is insane. What? And just the feeling on Aang not being able to use any emotion or else he's literally gonna lose his face. It's terrifying, it really is. And the amount that this thing switches faces. Is it gonna be practical? Is it going to be CGI? How many faces are they going to use, and whose faces are they going to use? And there's a lot that happens plot-wise within the cave. Obviously, there's like the yin and the yang, Tui and La, I think they're called, the two fish, you know, Aang learning about that. But I'm more so excited just aesthetically about what it looks like inside there and just how dark and scary they make this thing. I'm really hoping that it's just terrifying because this is one of those things that Mike and Brian created that is truly remarkable. Ko, the face stealer. That is such an insane concept and thing to wrap your head around that has these little claws. It's like a little caterpillar type thing. It's a very, very interesting curveball that's thrown into the end of this season, and it never ceases to blow my mind. It showcases how far they can push this show as well as the spirit world and that whole aspect of the story. And so, yeah, man, Ko the face stealer in live action. There's been some really cool fan art online that I've checked out that like I've always wanted to see what he's going to look like in live action. And so I'm really hoping that this is something that they nail, that they really, really do well and that they do right. I know that this might seem abstract as like my most hyped scene, but like I said, like I like scary stuff, and this is one of those scenes from the original series that truly does kind of just get to you a little bit. It's just this weird creature. It's just so strange to me. But anyway, yeah, guys, like I said in the very beginning, there are so many different scenes that you could choose from. I'm excited to see every little bit of this first season adapted into live action, and I'm very excited to see the changes that are going to be made. But these are just kind of 10 of the ones that I've been thinking of. I'd be very, very curious to hear what you guys are thinking about it. Please let me know anything that you want to see adapted down in the comments. What are you most looking forward to? What scenes, what moments, what episodes are you most looking forward to seeing adapted into live action? Because it's really exciting. We're like a week away now. Also, I do want to say thank you so much to everybody that's been supporting me on these Avatar videos. It means the freaking world to me. I love seeing all of your guys' comments, so if you are new here, if you recently subscribed, please leave a comment. I'd love to see who you are, get to know your opinions and stuff like that. I'm really trying to build a community around here, so please feel free to always reach out, and also, as always, smash like on this video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new here. You can follow me on X at Jones Vibes Only, and don't forget to keep up the good vibes, guys. But we are getting so close to Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix, so let's keep the hype alive.